How's it going, everybody? I thought right now I would talk to you all about some personal things in my life, the people I know and communicate with, and how they're basically telling me they're going to vote for Donald Trump in this November. Now, to many people who don't know me, you're probably like, yeah, well, a lot of people vote for Trump. But let me tell you something. I am from Chicago, from the South Side. And I am talking about lifelong Democrats, people who hate Republicans, who marched against Republicans, who despised them only 6 months ago, now telling me straight up they think Trump must win. And not just that, but the Republicans as well. You may follow the Timcast IRL podcast I do. It's much more informal, more jokey and silly. We do the show Monday through Fridays at 8 p.m. live over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. So if you haven't, subscribe. And my co-host is my buddy Adam Krigler. We also have Lydia on the show who produces. But Adam is a default liberal, I guess you could call him. Somebody who's always been, kind of a liberal lefty guy in cities. And he's a skateboarding, vegan. It's like exactly what you'd think when you think urban liberal. And recently on the show, he straight up said he was voting for Trump. I don't even go that far. I'm like, we'll see what happens, but I'm not going to vote for Biden. I'm leaning towards Trump. We'll see how this plays out. But for my friend, my vegan skateboarding hippie buddy from the city, grew up in Chicago, lived in New York, to say this, I gotta admit, I was a little surprised at first, but now it makes total sense. Let me show you this tweet from me to explain what's going on. I said, I talked to someone I know who is a lifelong Chicago Democrat. They said to me, quote, the only way this stops is if Trump wins a second term and Republicans take the House. The sentiment wasn't unique to just them, but it may just reflect the suburbs. Still, it was surprising to me. This is someone I've known for a long time in Chicago who is always about, gay rights and voting for Democrats, constantly complaining about Republicans, fairly politically active, who only like 6 or so months ago was saying, I don't like Trump, I'm not going to support him, blah, 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 but, still being very much in favor of Democrats. Then COVID happened. Then everyone started losing money. Tunes started to change. I was talking to my friends who were like, dude, I'm not getting paid. Many of my friends lost their jobs. Many of my friends couldn't get unemployment. Many of my friends who had businesses were saying things like, I'm in serious trouble, man. Like I am broke right now. This is messed up. Why am I losing all my money? And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to explain to them. At the time, it's like, so everybody was in favor of the temporary lockdown for like 15 days. But then it went too far. And we're still locked down, 90 plus days later. And they don't understand why it is that the Democratic governors are saying no and Trump is saying yes. And I told him, look, man, if you're more concerned about your income than COVID, then Trump is the one saying reopen the businesses. If you're more concerned about COVID, it's the Democrats saying keep it shut down. And they're like, but my money, I can't pay my rent. And I'm like, well, I think you've got your answer, right? It was still an argument, and it was frustrating when they were like, no way, man, I don't trust Trump. I'm like, well, it's your Democratic governor who's doing this to you. Then came the riots, sustained week-long rioting, and it was bad and across the entire city. And Trump came out and said he would call in the military if he had to. Guess what? 58% of registered voters, according to the Morning Consult, agreed. That's when everything changed. That's when I get a message from someone I have known for a lifelong Democrat saying Trump has to win. And that was to me like, wow, these people don't realize what they've done to the suburbs. I'm not saying this represents anything other than my personal life and experience. I read the news all day. I visit left-wing forums and right-wing forums to try and get a sense of what's going on with people. I'll go to the social justice and Antifa subreddits, and I'll go to the Donald Reddit, or no longer Reddit. It's the Donald.win now. It's their own website. I will try and read left-wing publications and conservative publications. And let me tell you right now, what I see from suburbanites, from regular people in my life, is that they are abandoning the Democratic Party. Now, I'm not going to look, a lot of these people I know are not hardcore Democrats. They didn't go around wearing Democrat shirts, waving little flags. They're people who just mostly minded their own business, walked into the voting booth and went Democrat across the board. Now they're begging for Trump to win. Not everybody, just a small handful of people I know, but it was, I gotta say, it's kind of not surprising to me, but still, I didn't expect it. I've talked about this all the time, that regular people are gonna flip for Trump because of what's going on around this country. But I didn't expect to hear from my own friends being like, oh yeah, definitely. Now, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of friends who just literally know nothing. A lot of the friends I talk to every day are just posting, Black Lives Matter stuff on Instagram, and they don't really know anything about what's going on with the House or the Senate. They couldn't tell you who the Speaker of the House was or who was the minority leader in the Senate. So these people still exist. But it's surprising to me how many people are getting activated. A lot of people are getting activated to the radical left. That's true, too. So there's an app called Signal. It's encrypted communications. And I'm seeing a bunch of people I know sign up for it. That says to me that activists are activating them. So it's not just about regular people voting for Trump. It's about young people being radicalized to the left. But this still plays to my point. I do believe that Trump is going to win because of the silent majority. I really, really do. Let me show you something. I want to read you some of the replies to this tweet. But take a look at some mainstream media. Lifehacker.com, let's abolish the police force. New York Times, cities ask if it's time to defund police and reimagine public safety. Mother Jones, what a world without cops would look like. These people don't realize what they're doing. They think that they're part of some moral majority, but they are not. These are people who are in their own toilet swirl whirlpool, eating their own refuse and cycling it back to each other. It's a group of people all patting each other on the back, not realizing that everyone else is standing off in the corner saying these people are getting increasingly insane. One way I've described it before is that for a while, our political landscape was a big whirlpool. And over time, it's been speeding up. But as it speeds up, it gets smaller and throws people out of it. This is the way I see it. You have all these normie liberals spinning around. But as it gets crazier and crazier and spins faster, regular normies just fling right out of it. Now they're sitting in the pool as the whirlpool spins tighter with people like this screaming, abolish the police. I'm sorry, man. Abolish the police should be... You need no more evidence that the left in this country has gone insane. Now, is there a conversation about police reform? 100%. And regular activists are having that and real votes are happening. But when the media class and left-wing publications and even the New York Times are talking about completely defunding the police and what it might look like, they do not represent regular people's thinking. According to a Cato Institute poll, I believe it was from Cato Institute. They may have been referencing someone else. 90% of every race, including minorities, think we should not reduce the number of police. In fact, a third of them think we should actually increase the number of police. This is something I talked about the other day. Now, I don't want to harp over the abolish the police thing, but this cannot be ignored. This has to be the perfect example, right? Come on. When Joe Biden came out and said a moratorium on deportations, a lot of people said, well, let's think about it. When Bernie Sanders said decriminalize border crossings, people said, okay, well, let's think about it. Now they're saying abolish the police. I'm not exaggerating. It's literally it's the title. Let's abolish the police force. DeRay McKesson, a very, very famous Black Lives Matter activist, is currently under fire on Twitter for calling for police reform at a time when all of these people are demanding the abolishment of police. What do you think a regular person's going to think when they hear that? They're going to think these people have truly gone insane. Where are the Democrats to denounce this? Nowhere. They won't dare denounce this. Journalists are being wrapped up in this fringe ideology. And I'll tell you what, man, if you were to ask me about a conspiracy theory, I would tell you it straight. Trump could ask for no better campaign strategy than what we're seeing right now. I kid you not. I know people who have complained about Republican policies cutting the budget. And now they don't care about the budget at all because there's no businesses, there's no money, period. You think about what the Republicans have done or what they used to do. I can't tell you what's happening these days because the only thing we hear is about the psychosis in the streets. So here's my conspiracy, right? If I were a conspiratorial, I don't think this is true. I'm just saying you'd have to assume that these people writing these articles are paid for by the Trump campaign. That's how effective the black propaganda is. For those that aren't familiar, black propaganda is basically when you pretend to be your enemy and say something dumb. So it's kind of like a propaganda false flag. You dress up like an Antifa activist and then go scream crazy things so people think Antifa is nuts. When I see these people writing these articles, I'm like, Trump could not have done it better himself. If there was a subversive political consultant advising Trump's campaign, they'd be saying, amplify these voices. Make sure these voices are the ones you hear. This is why Trump has kept the focus so hard on the squad for a certain period of time. Not so much anymore. But remember when Trump was talking about Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar like crazy? Yeah, he wanted them to be the focus. And it was obvious to everybody what he was doing. What now? I guess they all have amnesia. Take a look at this tweet. Let's talk about responses to what I said. The suburbs are on. This is from W.D. Moore. I don't look, and I'm just telling you, I don't know who these Twitter users are. I'm not saying they're important. This video is specifically about the anecdotes of our experience. It may not be legitimate data that lends itself to anything. We may see Trump still lose. I'm just telling you what I see. Here's what they said. The suburbs are on edge. Here in the NYC metro area, gun stores can't keep up with the demand for shotguns, and formerly gun control liberals rush in to buy protection for their homes. Let me tell you something, man. I've been moderate for a long time. I was a lefty for a long time. And Steven Crowder, I went on his show and he said, I'm getting you a SIG M400. I'm getting a SIG M400. I don't know what that means. Not familiar with guns, but I'm getting one. And I'm taking all the necessary precautions. You know why? In New York City, a liberal writer tweeted something a month or two ago about gun reform. Then, when the riots broke out, tweeted, he called 911 and they said, sir, the city is under attack. What would you have us do? Do what you got to do. And he was shocked. When COVID started, we saw all of these former gun control liberals rushing to gun stores in Los Angeles and New York to buy weapons. What do you think is going to happen now? What do you think is going through the minds of these people who normally just check D across the board? I tell you what, man, I can tell you from a news perspective, seeing all of these liberals say these things says to me that there's going to be a reckoning for the Democratic Party. But when I'm told by my own friends, by the hippie liberal vegan skateboarder buddy of mine, that he's voting for Trump, I'm like, something is happening in this country. I made the joke. If Joe Biden came out and endorsed abolish the police like all these lefties are saying, Donald Trump need only do one more commercial where he says, my fellow Americans, following Joe Biden's statement that he will abolish the police, I'm going to go golfing for the next few months. See you at my reelection. He could drop all the campaigning. He could actually say, please, no longer donate to me. I don't need the money. Joe Biden said it. Now, will Joe Biden actually go this far? I think he might entertain it. I think Joe Biden might actually come out and say we should consider defunding the police. Defunding is as far as he'll go, probably. But they're saying straight up abolish the police. I'm like, is lifehacker.com. Let's abolish the police force. This is not some fringe website. This is a prominent lefty website. It used to be part of some big network, so I don't know what their deal is now or how prominent they are, but this is a story that's been going around. The New York Times, I kid you not, look what they're saying. Budgets are being reevaluated. That's taking it lightly. But if 90% think we should keep the amount of police we have where it is, and a third of those people want more cops, then who are they pandering to? The 7%, the 5%? I have to imagine. Within that 90, or you have 90%. Within that, you have a third who want more cops. Then you have a remaining 10%. I'd imagine some of them are just unsure, and a smaller percentage are saying reduce the police. And that's who they're chasing after. So here's what I think, man. I think my experience is not unique. The suburbs are on edge. I live in the suburbs of Philly. We had helicopters flying near our home and sirens like crazier than I've ever heard. I live in the middle of nowhere. All right. And we heard that protesters were coming to our area. Some people just were gone. Like I have neighbors who are gone. Not necessarily because of that, but they left a while ago. They must have gone off. I don't know where they went. They haven't been back. And they need to because they got to take care of their house. I'll keep that stuff more personal. But some people are gone. I can't tell you what it's like when you hear the cities are being torn apart. Now, listen, I used to cover civil unrest, conflict, and crisis. Not necessarily war reporting, but right on the edge of what you could claim to be war. So I'm not watching tanks, but I was standing around soldiers on APCs with guns, and there were people shooting at each other and people dying. That was civil unrest revolution. I've experienced this stuff. I'm not going to freak out. But even I get a little worried when you hear those sirens nearby and the helicopters overhead after they just said the riots, were sweeping these cities for a week. They shut the bridges down in Philadelphia. What do you think all of these suburbanites are thinking right now as these riots ravage these towns? Do you think they're thinking these rioters are justified because they're traumatized and angry? We should abolish the police. No, they were probably calling the police saying, what's happening? Are we safe? And they're going out to gun stores that are being picked clean. I'm not saying these gun people are going to change their minds maybe, but I am saying I think a lot of these people are going to keep their mouths shut when asked, who are you voting for? They're going to say, they're going to yell Black Lives Matter at the top of their lungs because they're scared. I went to Oakland a few years ago, Berkeley. I've been there several times. You'll notice this. I think I posted a photo to my Instagram. You can go to my Instagram and scroll down until you find it. There is a Burger King window that basically says we're a small franchise, family owned. Basically what they're saying is, please don't destroy our windows. You can see it all over the place. Stores are putting up signs in the window saying Black Lives Matter. And what they're really doing is saying, please don't hurt me. They're scared. Now, publicly, they're going to tell you, I'm all for it. Privately, they're going to beg Donald Trump to save them and return things to normal, because those are your choices. Perhaps it's possible that they vote for Joe Biden because Joe Biden is some nostalgic, normal. I don't think so, though. Joe Biden was the vice president when this started, and Donald Trump is the law and order candidate. He's the one who said, send in the troops, and so did Tom Cotton. And what did they say? They went nuts, and they wanted the New York Times to remove that op-ed. 58% of registered voters agreed with Trump. 71% wanted the National Guard. Yet these people in media are acting like we should abolish the police. Listen to me. 58% of registered voters said in a poll, there's a margin of error, the military should be brought in to stop the rioting. 58% of registered voters wanted the military. So if you want to go just in the other direction, a million miles, do it. But I'll tell you what, if most people are sitting next to the military being called in and the Insurrection Act being invoked, who in their right mind would think these people would be calling for abolishing the police? And here we can see, check it out. Somebody responded to me. Can someone explain this logic to me? To which this individual, Lauren, said, when you try to cater to this instead of the backbone of society, your platform is headed the wrong direction. And it's an image of that woman who dropped to her knees screaming after Trump won. It's a really good point. Take a look at this. You've seen this meme of this woman screaming at the top of her lungs. No, when Donald Trump, it was his inauguration or whatever. This is not the backbone of this country. The backbone is small business. That's really the backbone of this country. Many big cities live based on their small business. It's not the major corporations. You can complain about the 1% all you want, but most businesses are small businesses. And they were gutted, shredded, and destroyed by the lockdown. And the Democratic governors, Governor Whitmer herself, shut down, or I should say her administration, shuts down a barber, a 77-year-old barber in Michigan, in the town of Owasso, of 15,000 people with almost no COVID outbreak as far as I could tell, saying you can't cut hair. Oh, what's that? You've got 10 clients who come in on a regular basis, which keep your business open? Can't do it. They were wearing masks, sure, but guess what? Governor Whitmer herself marches side by side with all these other state leaders. You have to understand what people are thinking now. May not be everybody. Some people don't get the news. But I'll tell you this. If you want to make sure people start asking questions, have riots erupt in the suburbs. I got word from some people in Chicago that there was rioting in the suburbs. Raucous protesting, maybe not rioting. I don't know. I was told rioting. 30, 40 miles outside of the city where everyone thought they were safe. I live in the suburbs of Philly on the Jersey side, and we heard sirens and helicopters nearby, and we were like, wow, we're in the suburbs, man. So they shut the bridges down twice. I have to tell you, man, the people who I live by who have kids, people will do anything for their kids. They would bend the knee if it meant saving their kids. So for better or for worse, they will do this. But I'll tell you what, right now they have a choice. You see all the videos of people bending their knee, literally bending their knee. The activists say, get on your knees, and they all do it. A lot of people would absolutely bend the knee to make sure their family stays safe. But right now they have a choice. It's called the secret ballot. They're going to walk in that voting booth and they're going to see Donald Trump saying, live free. And we're going to let you do your thing. And they're seeing the Democrats say, get on your knees. What do you think they're going to pick? Personally, I think they're going to pick Trump. I really do. I saw a photo from the Lincoln Memorial. I don't know if it was today or what. And it was some young woman, like a prom dress or something, taking pictures and like duck facing or whatever. And there's soldiers standing atop the Lincoln Memorial. I thought to myself, one side would attack you and threaten you and force you on your knees. The other side brings out the military who stand around and let you duck face on Instagram. Pick a faction. Which one do you think is going to win? With Donald Trump, you will have the National Guard and potentially the military deployed on your street corners. What does that mean? I don't like the idea of this at all. I really, really don't. I don't like the idea of federal officers in D.C. with no badges, which is what we've seen. That's why I don't want to vote for him. I don't want any of this. But the escalation is real. It's not about what I think. It's about people saying, I will take my chances with the unmarked law enforcement officers standing there doing nothing so I can walk to a pizza joint and get a slice over those who are throwing Molotovs at cars, screaming and demanding I bend the knee. I kid you not. Go look at the videos. See all of the people, JP Morgan, for instance, bending their knee, quite literally bending the knee, swearing fealty to an ideology. I think we might see one of the craziest sweeps to the right we've ever seen in this country. The fringe activists are not representing this country. And now I think we have the best evidence we could ever ask for, and that's abolish the police. Something a tiny, tiny fraction of this country wants. But regular Americans like their cops. Regular Americans approve of the police. So when you come to them and say defund or abolish, regular people are going to start getting scared. What do? There's a live stream that's going around. I think it's like 45 minutes long, where a young black man instructs white women to get on their knees, and they do. A lot of people are making fun of them. I called this woman pathetic, but I'll tell you this. I showed the video to some friends, some like really entrenched SJW types, friends of mine from Chicago, and they said, well, it's just a prank video. They fell for it. And I said, fell for it? What do you think they fell for? Oh, well, they thought the guy actually worked for Black Lives Matter. I'm like, no, you misunderstand. Do you really think this, 38-year-old white woman got on her knees for a 6'3" young black man who ran up to her because she was pranked? Or do you think she was terrified because the guy ran up to her, filming her, and said, get on your knees? She probably cried after that, after it happened. She probably went back, and her heart was probably beating 1,000,000 miles an hour for two reasons. Who is this man who just ran up to me and told me to get on my knees? Is he going to hurt me? The second reason is, these people know that if they do anything wrong on camera, the mob will come for them and it will get worse. I can only imagine these women are crying at home, and this is the most effective way to turn liberal white women into hardcore Trump supporters. But I guess we'll see. All of this could be wrong. I could be in a bubble. I don't know. I don't think I am, because I'm talking to regular people back from where I grew up. I guess we'll see how this plays out. Stick around. The next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at timcast.net. And I will see you all then.